Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Boruto anime episode review. This one's going to be for episode 59, which is Boruto versus Shikadai. And yeah, just more kind of fights as we're at this stage of the tuning exams, kind of building towards the final fight, and I suppose the Boruto is cheating reveal to everyone, and the interruption with the Otsutsukis. That's where obviously the movie arc is eventually going to head, and this is where they're really expanding things out by showing us some of the fights. They've obviously altered the kind of final tree to be a three-way fight at the end with like three semifinals. But I thought this was a solid episode. I didn't think it was anything amazing. I liked that we got a bit of focus on both Shinki and Chocho through their fight. They actually gave it a little bit of time, even if for the most part the fight was always from the get-go one-sided, and it was just really about getting across that Chocho isn't going to go out like kind of Inojin did, that she's actually got the kind of the drive to at least be aware that she's outmatched, but try as hard as she can, and you know, her parents, everyone around her, she can be happy in losing knowing that she tried her best, and push Shinki to at least, you know, have to sort of power up with the strength to kind of hold her back. We got a little Shinki flashback, more or less showing of how Shinki and Gaara met. Not a lot of context given here in that it's a very, very quick one. I assume this will be covered later on when... I assume now that they've focused on Shinki, he's kind of gonna, I suppose, phase probably out of this arc a bit, and then we'll probably come back to him much later on in the series, or not much, but like later on, and he'll come back as a notable character, and we'll probably resolve some of the stuff that we don't get to resolve here. But just seeing, okay, Gaara goes out to effectively save him from the fact that he can't control his powers. And he obviously has Iron Sand. That's the reveal that we get. I believe that's a Kekkei Genkai that he has to control it like that. And it's fitting because it's a very similar style of technique to Gaara's, and just to see him protect Shinki from almost like hurting himself with his own techniques. I thought that was nice to see, but you don't get a ton of emotion out of it purely because Gaara isn't the most kind of out there with kind of how he feels, so I assume we will wait to see the full kind of execution on this, because right now it's just, okay, he adopts Shinki, he trains him, Shinki really respects Gaara and is kind of fighting for him. That's most of the dynamic that we have. They do present his character as being like, okay, he looks down on others and he's kind of aware that he looks down on others, and is kind of dismissive of people that he knows he's more powerful than. I assume this is probably going to lead to something. Will they do it in this fight, or will they wait until like a secondary appearance for him? But I feel they'll do something to get across that like he can be like outpowered. I feel they'll probably give Sarada that moment, given what Boruto's arc is kind of about right now. I can't really see them doing anything overly impressive with him right now. So, Shinki, I think we know from the manga, like, he comes to sort of, like, be a bit jealous of Boruto and what he accomplishes in the Otsutsuki stuff and in the aftermath of all of this. So I assume during the actual fight itself, they're either going to set him up as just being kind of undefeatable right now, or Sarada will be the one to sort of really push him, and then Boruto's cheating will be discovered while this is happening, and that's when everything will break down. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that, because will they actually have Boruto like cheat to win that three-way fight, which would involve him defeating Sarada and Shinki? I don't feel they'll want to do that, so I almost get the impression, like, will they do the thing where like he's caught cheating early on, he gets disqualified, and then the finals end up being Sarada versus Shinki, and maybe that match is interrupted. We obviously have to wait and see, but there's a lot they can do because they have shifted things a little bit, but the core that they went with for the whole Chocho thing was that they really focused on Choji and uh, Karu. I always mix up the names here. It's Karui, isn't it? Uh, Chocho's parents kind of cheering her on. Choji, of course, is very supportive from the get-go, and then Karui kind of gets into it as we go on. And just how they played it up of like them, we get Moegi kind of reacting as well, them noticing her kind of being determined. When I suppose Karui finally kind of steps in to cheer, it's meant to be this moment of like, okay, she's done enough, I can be happy even if she's lost, and you kind of see her notice that. That was just a fun one. She uses the human boulder jutsu as her kind of finishing move here, which is pretty interesting to see that being the way she goes. I was more expecting them to maybe go with the like full expansion jutsu and have like giant Chocho, but that'll probably be a power up for her later on down the line. And in her especially, it's going to be interesting if she gets to do the butterfly kind of weird technique that Choji had, but we'll have to wait and see a good bit for that. After that, we pretty much transition straight into the Shikadai Boruto fight, which is the rest of the episode for the most part. They sort of emphasize the fact that like Shikadai gets a bit of support, like Tamari and Shikamaru both come to see him before the match to kind of at the very least just say to him like don't lose and give him a bit of support. Whereas Boruto doesn't have anyone beforehand, and I understand that, you know, Naruto can't exactly go down and say anything to him in the same way that like Gaara didn't for Shinki, so they can't really be seen to be like cheering because they have to be the respected leaders. I get to a degree, you know, Hinata and Himawari are already in the crowd, and I suppose the explanation, like, why don't they go down? I'm not entirely sure why they don't do that, but I suppose it's more of a situation where, like, they specifically noted that Shikamaru left the whole Kage meeting to go down there, and they obviously just stayed in the crowd because I think Hinata could probably tell that, like, something's up with Boruto, so it may help him, but it also, like, she could sense that maybe it's not the best idea to talk to him right now, that he is dealing with the fact that he's cheating through these exams, and the fact that he doesn't want to use it but is kind of forced into doing it because he kind of hasn't learned that lesson about like the true meaning of hard work just yet. And I suppose that's what the fight sort of gets across, that going into it, the idea is that they're both to a degree like skilled but not really known for being the hardest workers, but Boruto is known for being the much more skilled one. So going into the fight, Boruto's expected to win because he's Naruto's son, and he's already been so impressive, at least what we've seen of him in the series up to now, and then the sort of cheating on how that has impressed everyone else. In that I really do feel that as we know him, Boruto should be able to win this fight. It is just the mindset that he's in at this point in time, how distracted the ninja tool and the fact that he's cheated is to him, plus everything else that's going on. The fact that he's gotten this far to impress Naruto, and he still wants to impress him so much and get that praise, but he's doing it through cheating, but he keeps wanting to do it. So it's just, he's digging himself this kind of deeper hole the further he goes into the tournament. But he is encountering these situations where he would lose otherwise, and he can't accept losing even if it involves cheating. And that's what's so interesting, and that's why the animes did a really good job of building up. Like, obviously, anyone who's seen the movie or read the manga knows what's going to happen, knows that it's going to come out in front of everyone that he was cheating. That scene is going to hurt all the more in the anime because they've set it up for so long. And it's going to be a really, really big turning point for Boruto to have that happen. But here, you can see that they're both skilled. Like, the way they start the fight before Boruto does the cheating, like, he sort of has the advantage because he's sort of is naturally more skilled, more kind of athletic in a way than Shikadai. Shikadai's kind of technique keeps him in the fight. When they get to the special techniques, it looks like Boruto should have the advantage. The shadow clones, he's sort of zooming in on Shikadai, but Shikadai, they kind of off-screen explain that he's been doing the hard work, putting in the work with Shikamaru to learn this kind of at least special technique of the shadow paralysis jutsu, where you could just make your shadow just expand to this almost kind of black hole thing, and it's just a really wide ranging thing that hits every point. It's not just a straight line, it's a really kind of thick circle that expands out. I assume it's very limited. That's probably the max that he can do. I'd be shocked if like Shikamaru could make it like that much bigger, but if they really want to make Shikamaru into someone really, really powerful, it'd be amazing if he could like do a circle that maybe like fills the entire arena, whereas Shikadai can only do it where like it touches it. It's pretty big to capture all the clones, but not huge. But still, cool new technique to see how Shikadai effectively wins the match outside of the cheating. That said, like I suppose this is where you kind of bring in the whole idea of like it's cheating because the ninja tools aren't meant to be used in the tuning exams. In a just straight up fight, this is perfectly okay because you're allowed to use ninja tools. And this is just I suppose the example of like it's just a specific thing here where like Naruto has banned the use of these kind of more advanced tools from the tournament because like there's a difference between like a kunai, which is also a ninja tool, in that it's just a bladed weapon. It's all about how you use it to get it across, versus like here's all these jutsu that potentially other people have performed to actually create the capsules, but you're not generating them yourself. You're using them, but you're not like it's not your power as such. And I suppose the example will be like, imagine someone uses a capsule of like a Biju bomb or something like that. It's just kind of like, okay, anyone could fire off that thing probably, but like, you know, it doesn't really demonstrate how strong they are. And that's why it's like, okay, I understand the use of this perhaps like later on, and the more advanced ninjas perhaps using it to have like a kind of surprise special technique that's different than their usual techniques. But to use it in like the tuning exams where you're meant to sort of be impressing the different Kage with your own skills to gain rank basically, you completely get why it is banned and why it's not the best reflection of what goes on here, in that okay, Boruto technically wins the full-on fight because, you know, you can't exclude that ninja tool from every single fight, but in the tuning exam style of fight, Shikadai has won this match. I suppose the big question you have around the fight is if Boruto is in the proper mindset from him kind of prior to this arc starting, where he's not as kind of upset about things or conflicted, where we know he can do these kind of crazy jutsu and put on a impressive show, I think he would have been able to, you know, somehow find a way to win, or wouldn't have got captured in the way he did. I suppose the implication is that he would have practiced all of the jutsu that Sasuke told him to. He would have had the shuriken jutsu. He would have had more shadow clones, which I think is what Sasuke sort of implied that he should work on doing. And if Boruto had come into this fight able to do, like, say, 10 shadow clones, plus, like, the shuriken jutsu thing, I think that's, they're sort of implying that with those techniques from his training, if he'd worked hard enough, that would have got him the victory, but he didn't. And I think they really hit it hard afterwards when they show Shikadai is actually surprisingly like upset about this. You don't expect him to be, but he is. He realizes how hard it hurts to lose. And the fact that we know he lost because Boruto cheated after they did the fist bump saying that we'll do this fair and square, it adds to the whole thing of like he's keeping this from them. Like this isn't just him embarrassing himself, it's also the people that he's taken out of the final stages of this exam that it's like a really bad thing that he's done. And just seeing like the Ino-Shika-Cho trio kind of like console each other, having all gone out. I suppose Ino-Jin didn't really get the best showcase here, but Cho-Cho and Shikadai for sure did. And then just kind of, you know, setting up what's up next. Mitsuki is going to be fighting Shinki. They did have a scene earlier on where Shinki confronted Mitsuki saying like, never hold back your full power against your opponent. That's like a sign of contempt. Obviously this is the whole, he nearly went Sage Mode but then didn't, and he wants to see Mitsuki use Sage Mode, and that's what's going to be very interesting here. he's not meant to. We know now that he's not meant to do that technique here. So I think we're going to see him hold back from using this technique. Mitsuki's going to lose to Shinki, but Shinki's going to be very frustrated by the fact that Mitsuki probably fought him very equally, but didn't use his signature technique in the end, and that's going to frustrate him. So that's going to be cool. And then the other guy, Ayame, I think it is, versus Sarada. I think just to explain what exactly his technique is, and then however Sarada goes about kind of breaking through it, will be somewhat interesting. And of course, I don't really know exactly how they're going to play doing the final battle, but I enjoyed this episode. I don't think it was amazing, just because the fights, while I think solid, weren't like super impressive. They weren't like Naruto Chunin exams impressive. I think they're saving, I think, a lot of these fights with like the other villages ninjas for perhaps later on. In that, will we get another Chunin exam arc or what? I'm not really sure, but I assume we will want to settle these sort of rivalries of like Shinki versus Boruto at a later point. So I think we'll come back to them, but right now the focus is just, okay, we're showing you the tournament, but we're mainly getting towards the point of this arc. The Otsutsuki still have to come in, Boruto's cheating has to be revealed, and he has to have that moment where he's put on the lowest level to have the comeback that he has at the end of this arc. So yeah, I'm excited to see how they finish up the arc over the next couple of episodes, because obviously we have an extra Otsutsuki this time out with Urashiki, who we don't really know exactly how he gets taken out of all of this. So there's still some kind of different things that are going on here. And then now that we know sort of that Boruto has like multiple powers, at least in the manga, it's going to be interesting to see how much depth they give to the whole Momoshiki Boruto stuff when that fight comes to an end. But yeah, that has been the video. That's my review for episode 59 of Boruto. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.